The fallen star. The mountains of Blackridge never looked so ominous to Dr. Naomi Fleming as they did tonight, silhouetted against the churning night sky. Something was different about the air, electrified, expectant. After 15 years as the regional medical director for this remote outpost, she developed an intuition for trouble, and right now, every nerve in her body hummed with warning. "Pressure system's gone haywire, Doc," said Terence, the night watchman, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the monitoring station. "Never seen readings like these before." Naomi nodded, her eyes fixed on the storm clouds gathering overhead. The facility's sensors had been acting erratically all evening, and the communications relay was down, not unusual this far from civilization, but tonight it felt deliberate, orchestrated. "I'm going to check the eastern perimeter," she said, grabbing her medical kit, an old habit from her military days. "Those sensor arrays might need recalibration." Terence raised an eyebrow but didn't protest. After 7 years working together, he knew better than to question Dr. Fleming's intuition. The night air hit her like a physical force when she stepped outside, cold, biting, charged with something indefinable. The security floodlights barely penetrated the darkness, creating islands of harsh illumination against the surrounding wilderness. Naomi tightened her jacket and began her trek toward the eastern ridge, where the facility's most sensitive equipment monitored atmospheric conditions. That's when she saw it, a streak of light, too controlled to be a meteor, too erratic to be a satellite. The object cut through the cloud cover, trailing blue-green fire that shouldn't exist in nature. It disappeared behind the eastern ridge with a distant impact that she felt through the soles of her boots. Protocol demanded she report this immediately. Protocol demanded she activate the containment team. Protocol demanded many things, but 15 years ago, protocol had cost lives Naomi had sworn to protect. She made her decision in seconds. "Terence," she called over her comm, "I'm seeing some interference with the eastern arrays. Might take me a couple hours to sort out. Keep monitoring the perimeter." "Copy that, document stay warm out there." Naomi moved quickly through the underbrush, her path illuminated by her handheld light and occasional flashes of lightning. The air grew thicker as she approached the impact site, carrying the scent of ozone and something unfamiliar, metallic but organic, like copper-infused soil after rain. The craft wasn't large, perhaps the size of a small transport vehicle, but its design defied conventional engineering. No sharp edges, no visible seams, just a seamless, iridescent hull that seemed to breathe in the moonlight. One section had ruptured on impact, revealing glimpses of a luminous interior. Naomi approached cautiously, medical kit ready, scientist mind cataloging details even as her survival instinct screamed warnings. The vessel hadn't crashed, it had landed, albeit roughly. And something inside was still alive. A soft, rhythmic pulsing emanated from within, like a heartbeat slowing. Without hesitation, Naomi climbed onto the slick surface and peered through the rupture. What she saw inside defied her 18 years of medical experience. The being was humanoid but clearly not human. Its skin shimmered with a bioluminescent quality, pulsing weakly between deep cobalt and faded azure. Multiple limbs, 4 arms, 2 legs, were arranged in unnatural angles, clearly broken or dislocated. A transparent membrane covered what appeared to be gills along its ribcage, fluttering weakly. It was dying. "I'm a doctor," Naomi said unnecessarily, knowing the creature couldn't understand her but hoping her tone conveyed her intentions. "I'm going to help you." The being's eyes opened, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle across its face. They glowed with an inner light, focusing slowly on Naomi. A sound emerged from somewhere within its chest cavity, not quite speech but unquestionably communication. Naomi made her decision. Breaking protocol wasn't new to her, she'd done it during the Jakarta crisis when government officials ordered her to prioritize military personnel over civilian casualties. That decision had ended her military career but saved 37 lives. This wouldn't be her first act of beautiful disobedience. She worked methodically, applying her knowledge of comparative xenophysiology, a specialty she developed after encountering radiation victims with mutated physiologies. The alien's blood was silver blue, viscous, reacting violently to air exposure. Its bone structure, if it could be called that, was flexible, semi-cartilaginous. For hours, Naomi worked in the shadow of the vessel, using her limited supplies to stabilize the creature. Its breathing steadied, the luminescence of its skin brightening marginally. When she finally managed to set what appeared to be a compound fracture in one of its upper limbs, the alien reached out with another arm and touched her face. Images flooded her mind, stars arranged in unfamiliar patterns, worlds with rings of fire, and overwhelming sensations of urgency. Not fear, not pain, but purpose. This wasn't a random crash. This being had come here deliberately. Keldris, the thought voice resonated in her mind, neither male nor female but distinctly individual. I am Keldris. Naomi gasped, pulling back slightly. I'm Naomi, she whispered. The being's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Danger, came the thought. Coming. Must warn. Before Naomi could respond, the sound of approaching vehicles broke the night silence. Harsh beams of light swept across the forest floor, accompanied by the crackle of military-grade communications equipment. Someone had noticed the crash despite the remote location, or perhaps they'd been tracking it all along. We need to move you, Naomi said urgently, assessing the alien's condition. Still critical, but stable enough for transport. Those people, they might not want to help you. The alien, Keldris, seemed to understand. With obvious pain, it shifted its body, helping Naomi as she improvised a way to transport it away from the craft. The vessel itself began to change color, darkening until it matched the forest floor, camouflaging itself. Together they moved into the dense underbrush just as the first vehicles arrived. Through the foliage, Naomi recognized the insignia on their sides, not local authorities but Federal Extraterrestrial Containment Division, a group rumored to handle first contact scenarios with extreme prejudice. Leading them was a tall, stern-faced man whose uniform identified him as Colonel Jacobson, a name whispered among medical circles for his ruthless efficiency in sanitizing unusual situations. Secure the perimeter and locate any biological matter, he ordered sharply. If it's still alive, I want it contained immediately. If not, collect everything for analysis. Naomi felt Keldris tremble beside her, whether from pain or fear she couldn't tell. One thing was certain, the arrival of FECD meant this was no longer about providing medical assistance. It was about survival. As they retreated deeper into the forest, Naomi realized she had crossed a line from which there was no return. Her career, her reputation, perhaps even her life, all were now secondary to ensuring this alien's survival and hearing the warning it carried. The first rays of dawn were breaking over the mountains when they reached an abandoned ranger station Naomi knew from her hiking expeditions. As she helped Keldris inside, the alien's thoughts brushed against her mind once more. Why help? Your kind fears difference. Naomi carefully arranged her medical supplies, preparing to continue treatment. Not all of us, she replied softly. Some of us became doctors precisely because we understand that life, all life, deserves protection. For the first time, something like emotion flickered across Keldris's features. Others coming, it communicated. Cannot stop alone. Others? Naomi paused. More like you. The alien's 3 eyes blinked in that strange sequence again. No. Hunters. They follow. Must warn your leaders. Naomi's hands stilled. This wasn't a simple crash landing or exploratory mission. This was a refugee bringing a warning, and she had just placed herself in the middle of what could be first contact, or perhaps humanity's first interstellar conflict. I'll help you, she promised, knowing that dawn brought not just a new day but a new chapter in human history, one that began here, with a doctor's oath and an alien's trust. Colonel Jacobson's forces had established a perimeter around the crash site by mid-morning, their equipment humming with activity as they scanned the area for traces of the alien visitor. From the ranger station window, Naomi watched distant figures in hazmat suits collecting samples, while others deployed what appeared to be tracking devices along the forest floor. "They're using thermal imaging," she muttered, ducking back from the window. "And probably biological trace detection." Keldris had deteriorated overnight. The silvery blue fluid, what Naomi assumed was blood, leaked from a previously unnoticed wound near what might be its respiratory system. The bioluminescence that had pulsed so vibrantly beneath its skin now flickered erratically, dimming with each labored breath. "Need stabilization chamber," Keldris communicated weakly, the mental voice fading in and out like a poor radio signal. "My vessel, emergency protocols." "Your ship is surrounded," Naomi replied, applying pressure to the wound. "I can't get back there." The alien's three eyes focused with obvious effort. Not alone. Naomi considered her options. She needed help, someone with technical expertise, someone she could trust. Only one name came to mind, Rohan Patel, the facility systems technician who'd once confided in her about his belief in extraterrestrial life after witnessing something strange during his time in the Indian Space Research Organization. With trembling hands, she activated her personal communicator, using an old encryption protocol from her military days. "Rohan, it's Fleming. I need your help. No questions. Bring portable power cells, electromagnetic shielding, and your toolkit to the old ranger station. Come alone or don't come at all." The reply was almost immediate, "On my way, document 30 minutes. While waiting, Naomi continued treating Keldris, applying makeshift bandages and administering the only medications she dared use, basic antibiotics and anti-inflammatories, hoping the alien's physiology wouldn't react adversely. "Your world," Keldris communicated suddenly, "beautiful but primitive. So much potential." "Is that why you came?" Naomi asked. "To assess our potential." The alien's skin rippled in what might have been a gesture of negation. "To save it." Before Naomi could press further, she heard the approach of an electric vehicle, quieter than standard engines but still distinct in the forest silence. She positioned herself by the door, scalpel in hand, prepared for betrayal despite her trust in Rohan. The technician's lean figure appeared through the trees, struggling with several cases of equipment. His dark eyes widened as Naomi emerged from the shadows, then nearly bulged from their sockets when he glimpsed the alien form behind her. "Holy," he gasped, dropping one of the cases. That's really an injured patient who needs our help," Naomi interrupted firmly. "Can I count on you, Rohan?" The technician's shock transformed into focused determination. "Always, Doc. What do you need?" With Rohan's help, they constructed a makeshift life support system using portable power cells and modified medical equipment. His engineering expertise proved invaluable as they jury-rigged monitors to track Keldris's unusual vital signs and created a controlled environment that mimicked the atmosphere inside the crashed vessel, based on Keldris's mental guidance. The colonels deployed drone surveillance throughout the eastern quadrant, Rohan reported as he calibrated the equipment. "They're looking for heat signatures, movement patterns, anything unusual. I disabled the station's power signature before I arrived, but we won't stay hidden for long. We need access to that ship," Naomi said. "Keldris has technology there that could stabilize its condition. Some kind of medical chamber." Rohan wiped sweat from his brow, considering. "There's a maintenance tunnel system that runs beneath this entire valley, old mining infrastructure. The entrance is about half a kilometer from here. It might get us close enough to approach the crash site from underground." A weak mental signal from Keldris interrupted them. "No time, message more important." Naomi knelt beside the alien. "What message? Who needs to hear it?" "All humanity." The alien's three eyes focused with startling intensity. "Coming, they are coming." "Who's coming?" Rohan asked. Before Keldris could respond, the distant sound of helicopter rotors shattered the morning calm. Through the window, they spotted two military helicopters sweeping low over the forest, equipped with advanced sensing technology. "They're expanding the search pattern," Rohan muttered. "We need to move." Working quickly, they transferred Keldris and the life support equipment onto a makeshift travois. The alien's condition had stabilized somewhat thanks to their efforts, but remained critical. As they prepared to leave, Naomi's communicator crackled to life. It was Terrence from the facility. "Doc, military types are here asking questions. They've got your picture." "What's going on?" Naomi closed her eyes briefly. "Terrence, did I ever tell you about Jakarta?" A pause, then understanding. "Say no more." "I never saw you last night." "Be careful, Doc." With Rohan leading the way, they navigated through increasingly dense forest toward the maintenance tunnel entrance. Keldris drifted in and out of consciousness, occasionally sharing fragmented thoughts, images of vast fleets moving through space, planets rendered uninhabitable, and a profound sense of urgency that transcended language. They reached the tunnel entrance, a rusted metal door set into a hillside, nearly invisible beneath years of overgrowth. Rohan worked quickly to bypass the ancient security system while Naomi monitored Keldris's condition. "Why would Colonel Jacobson want to capture you instead of helping?" she asked softly. The alien's response came slowly, painfully. "Your military detected our signals. Know what follows. Need leverage." "Leverage against what?" But Keldris had slipped back into unconsciousness. The tunnel door creaked open, revealing a dark passage leading beneath the earth. As they prepared to enter, a sudden explosion rocked the forest behind them, the alien vessel self-destructing, denying Jacobson's team their prize. "That's our cue," Rohan said grimly. "Once they realize the ship's gone, they'll expand the search perimeter." Naomi nodded, helping maneuver the makeshift stretcher into the tunnel. As darkness enveloped them, she couldn't help wondering what she'd set in motion by saving this one alien life, and what warning was so urgent that Keldris would risk everything to deliver it. Behind them, the forest erupted with renewed activity as military vehicles converged on the explosion site. The hunt was intensifying, and Naomi knew that from this moment forward, there would be no going back to her old life. She had crossed boundaries, professional, legal, perhaps even cosmic, and whatever lay ahead would redefine everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. The maintenance tunnels wound beneath the valley like arteries of a forgotten giant, their concrete walls slick with decades of moisture and neglect. Naomi's makeshift headlamp cast elongated shadows as they navigated the labyrinth, Rohan consulting an old digital map he'd downloaded before communications went dark. "These tunnels were built during the Cold War," he explained, voice echoing softly. "Part research facility, part fallout shelter. If we follow this branch eastward, we should emerge about 2 kilometers from your facility, hopefully outside Jacobson's perimeter." Behind them, Keldris lay on the improvised stretcher, the alien's bioluminescence providing an eerie blue glow that pulsed with each labored breath. The life support system Rohan had assembled hummed quietly, its power reserves holding steady for now. "How long will the batteries last?" Naomi asked, checking Keldris's vitals for the third time in an hour. 8 hours at current consumption, Rohan replied. "After that." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Without proper medical intervention, Keldris wouldn't survive much longer. The alien's condition had stabilized somewhat thanks to their efforts, but remained precarious. They paused at a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Rohan studied his map with furrowed brows. The eastern passage collapsed back in '98 according to these maintenance logs. "We'll need to go north, then circle back." As they deliberated, Keldris stirred, 3 eyes opening in sequence. Proximity, danger. A moment later, they heard it too, the distant sound of boots on concrete, echoing through the tunnels behind them. Flashlight beams danced at the far end of the passage they'd just traversed. "They must have tracked our heat signatures entering the tunnel system," Rohan whispered, urgently packing up his equipment. "We need to move. Now." They hurried down the northern passage, the stretcher barely clearing the narrower confines. Naomi's medical training battled with survival instinct. The rough movement couldn't be good for Keldris, but capture would be worse. After 20 minutes of tense progress, they reached what appeared to be an abandoned research section, larger rooms branching off the main tunnel, filled with rusted equipment and moldering documents. Rohan guided them into what had once been a laboratory, its doors still intact enough to provide temporary concealment. "We can't outrun them forever," Naomi said, checking Keldris again. The alien's condition had deteriorated during their flight. "And Keldris needs more than what we can provide here." Rohan nodded grimly, then hesitated. "There's someone who might help. Dr. Imani Okafor. She worked on classified xenobiology research before the program was officially shut down. She operates an independent lab about 10 kilometers from here. Can we trust her? She lost her government funding when she refused to weaponize her research. If anyone would help an alien refugee instead of dissecting it, it's her." Naomi considered their limited options. "How do we reach her without being spotted?" Rohan gestured to an air circulation system in the ceiling. "These old bunkers connect to maintenance shafts that run throughout the valley. Some lead to the surface. If we can." He was interrupted by Keldris, whose mental voice suddenly projected with surprising strength, listening. The alien's three-fingered hand pressed weakly against Naomi's arm, transmitting images rather than words, soldiers with advanced audio equipment, directional microphones scanning the tunnel network, triangulating their position with every word spoken. Naomi nodded in understanding. They would need to communicate in silence from now on. Rohan pointed to the ventilation system, then to himself. Message clear, he would scout ahead. Naomi agreed with a nod, turning her attention back to Keldris while the technician squeezed into the narrow shaft. Alone with the alien, Naomi checked the life support readings and frowned. The power was depleting faster than anticipated. They had perhaps 4 hours left, not 8. She adjusted the settings, trying to optimize the aliens' comfort without draining their precious resources. Keldris's eyes focused on her with obvious effort. "Why risk, for stranger?" The question came not as words but as a complex emotional inquiry, genuinely puzzled, as if the concept of helping an unknown entity was incomprehensible. Naomi considered how to respond, then simply placed her hand against Keldris's luminescent skin, sharing her own memories, the aftermath of Jakarta, bodies lined up in makeshift morgues, the faces of those she couldn't save because orders had prioritized political assets over civilian lives. Her oath as a doctor. Her belief that life, all life, deserved protection. Understanding rippled through Keldris's skin like waves of light. In return, the alien shared glimpses of its own journey, a desperate escape from something catastrophic, dozens of worlds visited in search of allies, rejection after rejection as species prioritized their own survival over collective resistance. Earth was not the first world Keldris had approached. It might be the last that could help. The moment of connection was interrupted by a soft tapping from above, Rohan returning. His expression was grim as he lowered himself from the vent shaft. He made quick hand signals. Soldiers had entered this section of the tunnel network. They were methodically searching each room. "No escape that way." Naomi pointed upward questioningly. Rohan nodded, then held up 5 fingers. 500 meters through the ventilation system would lead them to a surface exit. But the shafts were narrow, too narrow for the stretcher and life support equipment. The implications were clear and devastating. They couldn't move Keldris through the vents with the equipment that was keeping the alien alive. Naomi made her decision quickly. She gestured to herself, then to Keldris, and mimicked carrying something. She would stay with the alien, find another way out. Rohan should go ahead, contact Dr. Okafor, and return with help if possible. The technician shook his head vehemently, unwilling to leave them behind. A weak mental projection from Keldris interrupted their silent argument. Message. More important than one life. The alien's 3-fingered hand reached out, touching both humans simultaneously. Information flooded their minds: star charts, attack vectors, fleet movements, and timing. Specific, detailed intelligence about an incoming threat that would render humanity extinct if they weren't prepared. Keldris wasn't just a refugee. The alien was a sentinel, sent ahead to warn Earth of impending invasion. When the mental connection broke, Rohan's face had gone pale. He looked at Naomi with newfound urgency, then nodded. He understood now what was at stake. He would go, not to abandon them but because the warning had to reach someone who could act on it. As Rohan disappeared back into the ventilation shaft, Naomi turned to the alien, a new determination in her eyes. They might be cornered, hunted, with dwindling resources and time, but she had faced impossible odds before. She began to reconfigure the life support system, making it smaller, more portable. If they couldn't go through the vents, they would find another way forward, together. Outside, the sound of methodical searching grew closer. Room by room, Jacobson's teams were closing in, their footsteps echoing like a countdown to discovery.